Welcome to the Education Innovators Podcast. I'm Eric Byron, and it is my privilege to host this show where I get to talk to folks from all over the world who are education thought leaders and innovators. We'll hear inspiring stories from educators, EdTech founders, AI experts, and others who are fearlessly innovating and delivering unique learning experiences. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. This episode is basically a book report on Salman Khan's new book, Brave New Words: How AI Will Revolutionize Education and Why That's a Good Thing. So the book is brave, I thought, and visionary. And we learn a bit about Sal and what he's trying to do with Khan Academy, and why he believes that generative AI is going to be a game changer for education. So, but before we get too far into the book itself, I do want to acknowledge right up front that I used AI to do some of the analysis of the book here, and to think about, or help me think about, what Sal is trying to tell us here. And, and so what I did was I paid for a subscription on Khan Academy so I could get access to Khanmigo. A big focus of the book is on Khanmigo, and I wanted to try it for myself and play with it. Didn't want to take Sal at his word, right? Trust but verify. So I did that. I was also hoping, maybe, since part of one of the use cases they describe in the book is this ability to have the AI tutor Khanmigo simulate a persona, right? So you can have a discussion with somebody and it sounds like them. And I thought, cool, I'll ask Khanmigo to simulate Sal himself, so I can ask him, some of his opinions on these things. But unfortunately, it is based on a list of personas that they have prepared in the system, and they do not have Sal available. So now I could have asked Eeyore the donkey, what his thoughts were, but I'm pretty sure all I would have gotten was, it was only a matter of time. AI has replaced me. Poor Eeyore. But actually, there are a bunch of really good, simulations in there. A whole bunch of literary characters and historical figures. There was something like 29. I counted, right? So this is May 2024. There were 29 literary characters and 68 historical figures that you can have a dialogue with, and it pretends, right? It doesn't know exactly what they would say, but it does its best to interpret what they might say, to answer certain questions within the context of when they lived, right? Or their story, if they're fictional. Okay, so the other thing that I did here was I used Google Notebook LM. So this is their new thing that they've just made, highly available in the US anyway. And I used it to analyze my notes from the book and some transcripts I pulled of talks that, Sal has done. And, since Sal wasn't available to answer questions, I also, I read the book twice, once quickly through just from cover to cover to get the essence of the book. And then I read it again, taking copious notes, which I fed into the Google Notebook, and, kind of really tried to dig in and figure out what he's trying to tell us here in the examples that he uses in the book. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is kind of an unbiased review of the book. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm opinionated. If you know me, I'm going to tell you how I feel about the things that Sal included in the book and his vision for the potential benefits of AI in education, and something he calls educated bravery. I'll talk about that more towards the end here. So just a little backstory, right? There is in the book, you get little pieces of this all throughout, and his story and details of his life here and how he started this. So he actually went to MIT, and there he did a project that was around creating software to tutor kids in math. So I think he's been kind of wired this way, for a long time, and wanting to be involved in education. But then, of course, he graduated and life happened. He got a job. He worked at Oracle first, and then he ended up as an analyst. Got married, got a business degree, and then, of course, famously, he got asked to tutor some of his cousins in math, and that was how Khan Academy started. Now, that part is not new. That it's a fairly well-known story. You get that in several of the talks that he's done. So no real revolution or revelations coming there in the book. But he does talk quite a bit here. I thought about this again, this vision, right? And why he started Khan Academy as a nonprofit, and what he was hoping he would achieve here. He also talks a bit about the sacrifice that came with doing this because he was working and he was an analyst and it was apparently quite lucrative, and he quit his job so he could try to scale Khan Academy. And this is brave itself and honorable that he was willing to sacrifice himself for this grand vision he had, right? And what he wanted to do, right, was to provide tutoring for millions of kids free of charge. And he achieved that, right? So 20 years of doing this, and it's literally been 20 years since he started Khan Academy, and he has reached over 100 million kids. But I think he wrote the book now because of this, breakthrough, right? This technology change that happened. And it's funny, he described it in the book as his dream was kind of delusional 20 years ago, right? That he could have such impact and help so many kids advance in school and get a better education. But then he says, you know, generative AI happened, and all of a sudden his dream seemed a lot less delusional. So, I thought that was, kind of a great recognition that, there's a point in time thing happening here. There's a shift happening, and he felt compelled to write this book to describe kind of his reaction to it and, how they developed Conmigo as an AI tutor leveraging this. He also described in pretty detail how his relationship with OpenAI was, and Sam Altman coming to them before they released ChatGPT 4, several months before they were going to release it. They came to Sal and the Khan Academy team and asked them to do some testing with it and play with it a little bit and see if they agreed with Sam that this could have a great potential impact on education. And of course, they did that. They went to town on it. Sal comments in the book that he didn't sleep for like 2 weeks after they started playing with ChatGPT 4 because it was just awesome. And they had this like hackathon. They all came together and tried to see what they could do with it. Could they break it? What could they get it to do? And they almost couldn't find a use case that it wasn't helpful in. And so this was very exciting time, clearly, at Khan Academy. And again, from his perspective, this was a game changer. This really helped. This met a need that had been missing all along. They'd achieved a lot, but there's only so far they could go. And now, they blew the roof off, right, with generative AI. Okay. So, I'm a fan. Clearly I like Khan Academy and what they've been trying to do. I'm very impressed with what I've seen of Conmigo, and I have gone in and played with it myself now. And so I also want to have, though, a little bit of a balance in my analysis here because there are things, and I love his vision, very optimistic. I'm an optimistic guy. But I think there's some things he's done that, are a little bit of a stretch here, maybe a bit over the top. So, well, first of all, the stuff that's not over the top, right? The personalized tutoring use of generative AI here. And, using it, training it to do Socratic questioning instead of answering, giving a student the answer. It can ask clarifying questions and really kind of lead you towards the answer. This is all wonderful, love that. He alludes to them starting to see in some cases something that could be considered, logic and reasoning from the AI as it looks at what somebody is doing to try and solve a problem and how to help them by actually kind of reasoning out what they may be thinking, right? Where they went wrong, right? What were they trying to do? So this is very, very interesting, and this is it's a process, right? This is one snapshot in time when he's writing this book. The AI is improving, dramatically. So this is part of where I think he's suggesting we're going. More ability to do reasoning and logic, and not just large language model kind of regurgitation of patterns of text. Anyway, he also, though, kind of extends the relationship with the student here beyond just tutoring you, helping you solve problems and learn certain content. But he gets into this area that's almost therapy, right? Where he suggests that the AI can listen to a student and give them advice, right? Kind of an almost SEL, social and emotional learning attention here. And that he goes so far as to say that it can help with communication skills and that students who work with these AI tutors are actually not only going to be better communicators, but they're going to be more willing to interact with humans, and that you know I don't know. I found some of this again a bit of a stretch. I can see where the AI could be more efficient in learning, some of the subjects and the personalization. I totally am on board with all of that, but I find it a little hard to imagine that it's going to be an effective, therapist and guidance counselor and, mentor and friend as an AI tutor to most students. Okay. He does talk. He's got a chapter on the impact potentially on teachers and teaching. Again, this is all good stuff. This is stuff we've heard a lot of talk about the efficiencies and the AI acting as like a teacher's assistant that helps them with administrative tasks. Again, none of that is really new concepts to me. He does touch on this area of the AI observing the teacher and offering advice in maybe how to interact more effectively with the kids. It's a pretty touchy subject area, so I'm going to just leave that one there. Um, but the other area he went into, though, that I haven't seen a lot of dialogue about or discussion about with AI and generative AI is an area of how he thinks it can help parents be better parents. So he he touches on three areas of this, three aspects of this that he thinks is a benefit to parents with the use of AI. So increasing transparency. I'll agree with this one, right? The AI can, give the parents a better picture of the academic progress that their kids are making and where they are. They're ahead, if they're behind, whatever academically. That's all good. But then he goes into what you call parental coaching. So suggesting again, almost this therapy concept where the AI can actually advise the parents on how to talk to their kids about stuff like bullying or social pressure, that sort of thing. And then even um, he goes into what he calls reducing friction. So, you know how parents can be a little overbearing, and they got that transparency now. I can see that my kid is falling behind in math, right? And their tendency is to want to kind of jump on the kid, and they add pressure, which probably makes it worse. We all do it, right? But he's suggesting that the AI may actually help minimize some of that friction. And it sounds like he's suggesting that the parents are just going to trust the AI and go, oh, okay, I don't need to pressure my kid. And, the AI is coaching me how to talk to the kid, and they're telling me, don't give them pressure. The tutor's going to catch them up if they're falling behind in math or whatever. So I find this a little hard to wrap my brain around that most parents are going to be willing to go, oh yeah, my kid's behind in math, but it's all right. AI's got it. They're gonna, the AI tutor's gonna fix it. Um, anyway, so I know that he's trying to open our eyes to all of these possibilities, all these possible benefits of using AI, and what it can do. But I think he also tends to use these very kind of best case scenario use cases. And, you know, uh, I don't think there's a lot of parents who are actually going to back off because AI is in there and not pressure their kid who's falling behind. Um, I also think he does a similar, I don't want to call it a disservice. He also paints a profile of the students that's very optimistic, right? And their response to this and how well they're going to perform with a personalized AI tutor, compared with not having a tutor at all. And so I think some kids are going to respond very positively, right? Your typical bell curve, right? Some kids are going to be, thrilled and awesome and respond really, really well to this, and other kids not so much, right? So again, he paints this very, very grand vision of how it changes everything. But I think you have to love the vision, but at the same time, I don't think we can't certainly expect perfection, but we shouldn't worry about perfection, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, because, nothing is ever going to work perfectly for everyone in every scenario, right? But let's get as many of them as we can. Okay. Well, let's go back to this grand vision again. And, um, I want to talk about inequity, because this is a big, big part of what Sal is trying to solve, and why Khan Academy is a nonprofit and they offer all of this stuff for free, and thousands of courses and pieces of content, tens of thousands of videos or whatever's in the system right now. And so the problem, right, inequity is that the privileged, have such an advantage, right? They have access to the best schools and the best teachers and the best tutors and the best admissions coaches. He talks actually a whole bit about assessment and admissions and how broken that is right now, and how, say, it's a process, but we can get there. This can actually be part of the solution to making that better. And but he also, and I have to love him for this, because he makes a comparison to Star Trek. So, and the point he makes here is about scarcity. So in the Star Trek world, there is no scarcity, right? Everyone has access to high quality education and jobs and food and, a safe living environment and medical, and all this stuff, right? And so, um, his hope is, right, that in the future, all kids will have access to high quality education. And from there, we can solve those other problems. So, um, and they've already made Khan Academy available in like 50 languages and, 100 countries or whatever around the world. And so he's achieved a lot there. Really, maybe the limiting factor now is connectivity, right? So once we can fix that and everybody can get online and have access to Khan Academy, we've really reduced the barrier to a better life for billions of children. So Sal may be a bit of a dreamer, but some of the details are a little hard, but you can't knock him for wanting to see, you know, education, high quality education available to everyone. So let's come back to this phrase he uses a couple times in the book called educated bravery. And the book title starts with the word brave too. And I want to say this really resonates with me. You may have heard me actually describe some of my guests as fearlessly innovative, right? I think Sal is trying to talk to us about not just being fearless and being brave, but educated bravery. I think what he's saying there is we need to learn about AI, right? We need to educate ourselves so that it's not just fear of all of the potential bad things that could be done with AI. Those are real. And the only way we can combat that and shift that focus so it's on this vision of, no scarcity and education available for everybody and high quality tutoring available to everybody is if we are brave and we're educated brave, right? So we educate ourselves so we know how to do this, and we can act in bravely. All right, a quote from the book itself. Let's use AI to create a new golden age for humanity, a time that will make today look like a dark age. Nothing could be more inspiring and important than that. To boldly go where no man has gone before. Oh, sorry, back on Star Trek. I'm Eric Byron. Thanks for hanging in there. I know this was a kind of a long-winded solo episode, but we almost can't talk about innovation in education without having a discussion about the impact of Khan Academy and now Khanmigo and all that they're doing there. So, thanks to Sal for writing the book. You should read it. It's really got some great stuff in there. And I want to thank you again for listening to the podcast, and I hope, right, we've got so many more great guests lined up. Maybe even Sal himself will come on and tell us more about what he's thinking there and why he's just talking about bravery. And please subscribe so you don't miss that if I do get Sal on the show. All right. Thanks for listening to the Education Innovators Podcast. And for all those education innovators out there, thanks for doing what you do. You are making a difference.